Welcome. It is the Maker of Kings radio program, live here on News Radio 830 KHVH and reaching you through Facebook Live and beyond. We wish you the warmest of aloha. Thank you so very much for being with us, and can't wait to get started on yet again another edition of one of the most compelling hours of radio broadcast you'll ever visit. And joining us in studio, we have the usual suspects, ladies and gentlemen, led by Mr. Jim Keeter. Jim, aloha to you, my friend.
Good morning. Thanks for having us, Rick.
It's a pleasure, as
Nice
always.
seeing you again.
Always to get together.
Thank you.
Drew Compean. Drew, how you doing, bro, over on the inbox?
Yeah, good over here.
All right. You boys look ready today.
We are ready.
You kind of got everything's like going.
We don't get ready, we stay ready.
There it is. Ready to roll. And, of course, he maintains that he is, in fact, the most handsome man in all entrepreneurship, Mr. Rich Elliott, in studio, too. I'm just reading what you wrote me, bro. That's it. I just have the notes right here.
His agenda.
There we go. And we have a very, very special friend in studio. And, Jim, I'd like for you to do the introductions, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Katie is a young lady that I've been working with for the past few years. She's a young entrepreneur and has been looking at different products and services throughout our time working together. And so I thought it'd be a good idea, because female entrepreneurship's hot right now, is to bring her in, have her talk a little bit about what she's doing, what we've done together, and kind of the direction that she's headed. So that's who she is.
Excellent. Katie, aloha and welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a pleasure. Now we have our gentlemen who are make regular appearances on Maker of Kings, our first time together. Would you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I've been in Hawaii for the past 8 years, and since being here, I've really taken on the entrepreneurship lifestyle. I came across Jimmy about 5 years ago in a time in my life when I really needed to rebuild and regain my footing, I'd say, and kind of needed that leadership to get further in business world and further in my company that I wanted to build.
Mm-hmm.
I personally do fitness, yoga, nutrition, and I also get into selling healthy beauty products. And Jimmy has been there since 5 years ago, and I've kind of been with him and talking with him a lot about how to grow business. He's led me in ways to brand myself as well as any products or anything that I sell.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. The catalyst, have you always had that entrepreneurial spirit? Has that always been part of you?
It definitely has. Actually, when I was about 4 years old, I used to find my grandmother's trinkets around the house, and I made a store, and I sold them back to her. So
That's pretty good.
yeah.
I was going to say, I see Drew's over there making notes and going, resell to family.
Resell to your own family.
No, so she went to college as well. So she's another advocate of how college does not teach you how to run business.
Exactly.
Right.
I actually earned a degree in international business, and so I have a BBA from Loyola University in Maryland.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing school. I learned a lot about business, but not about how to run my own business.
Gotcha.
So I was let out into the world and just didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to actually get my footing in creating my own business, and I didn't feel like I could be myself in a corporate world. Like I just got stuck. I felt trapped.
Right. Was that your first entree, though, post-school, was actually pursuing something corporate? Or was it, I'm out of the gates and I'm going to start doing my own thing?
I started working at Paramount Pictures in Hollywood, which is quite as corporate as you can get.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I often finished my work within the first half of the day, and I was always looking for more. I was just hungry to grow, hungry to do more. And within that constraint, that wasn't really available. They're just saying, all right, you're good.
Yeah.
You know, hang out until we're done. Let's have some lunch, stay on your computer.
Holy smokes.
So, you know, I just wanted more always.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah.
Jim, I love this story because, and we'll get back with Katie with more about where we are now from where we started. But what impressed you the most when you first met? Where did you begin and assess now?
Initially, what impressed me about Katie was that she is inspired to be part of the solution. She understood that she was an agent of change and that she felt that there wasn't a lot of opportunity in the young entrepreneur space for females, and she wanted to blaze that trail for not only her but for other people. it really opened up my eyes when I saw how she struggled through some difficult times, how she recovered, how she found a way, and consistently looked for the solution to the problem rather than just identifying the problem and becoming a victim of circumstance. She adapted and overcame and kept pivoting until she found something she was passionate. Once she was passionate, she put her effort behind that passion, and now she's doing well.
Yeah. Drew and Rich, jump on in because you're familiar with and have worked with and are knowledgeable about Katie and what her mission is personally. Thoughts from you, Mr. Elliott?
Well, I personally met yoga.
And there you have it. All right, let me just take that
That's
right
real
off there.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim and Andrew have known her for quite some time, and I got introduced to her actually at yoga. And she got to meet my friend Katie. She's going to be, she works with my dad all the time. We have a lot of things in common, one being yoga. So, yeah,
Right.
over there and kind of heard her story, and it's inspiring to hear how she's growing and how she's developing. No matter what time in your life, if you want to go after and get it, you just need the right leadership in place, which Jim provides to be able to go after and be successful in your endeavors, which Katie is working at every single day to do. She's pat on the back over there, Katie. Good work.
Thank you.
She's gone next week too.
I am. I leave next week. I'm working with the CrossFit Games doing media production.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'll be leaving to do that on Sunday night, and I come back in a week.
Well, you have to be back here by
Yeah.
Wednesday. Because
Exactly.
we have right here. Drew, how about your thoughts?
Oh, Katie's awesome. Actually, I met her at a CrossFit gym like 5 years ago, and then after that, introduced to my family, and I thought she was a cool chick, and that she, meet my parents, and she did. I saw the value that he could bring into her life for the things she was going through at that time in her life.
Right.
So I feel like she reached a crossroads, and she was thinking about what to do next. Because I remember we had coffee, and you were talking
Yeah.
about potentially taking like a sales position.
Yeah,
Because it's like,
yeah.
I guess, a safer route this time in your life,
Yeah.
opposed to going for it. Like as my dad said, we're only 30 years old. I mean, if you fall completely on your face, you're still so young. There's so much life to live that now is the time to take the risk.
Absolutely, yeah. Taste a lot of different things before you decide what your favorite dish is. I
Right.
think a lot of people, they say, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I think you need to try a lot of things and sort a lot of things out, figure out yourself, and then align your passion. So if you're just out there and you say, I love poke because you love poke, that's great. But if you haven't tried everything else, let's just don't settle on that being your favorite food. Let's taste a little bit. So that's what she's been out doing, tasting a little bit. And they're all around the 30-year-old mark. And at 30 years old, you kind of start to become who you're supposed to be in the long run. And so it's a process, right? It's not just a system which is guaranteed predictable outcome. They need to taste a lot. They find out what they like, and then they pursue that with passion, and they'll be successful.
I have watched televised entrepreneur mentors, builders, etc., say similarly exactly what you said. I don't want safe.
No.
I don't want safe. You have to go out and you have to try. You have to be aggressive. You have to take the initiative. And if you fall down, you get right back up.
And you will fall.
And you will.
If you're trying hard
Exactly.
enough, you will fall. And so you have to be willing to take your lumps in order to make it to the top.
Remarkable. We're going to enjoy this conversation all morning long. We're already at 17 past the hour. It is the maker of Kings Radio. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back with our team right after this.
Rick Hamada program on News Radio 830 KHVH.
Back with Maker of Kings Radio. We're just having a chance to chat off air, but with Drew, Jim, Katie, and of course, Rich in studio. It was compelling off the air. I just want to refer to it briefly,
Sure.
because I think it speaks to so many who are dialed in now, and also the mission that you commonly share. I brought up Marcus Lemonis, and the name of the television program is The Prophet. We've referred to it in the past on past shows. And I was so impressed with what he does, how he does it, and where his consistency is applied to virtually every single business that he goes to, the three Ps. And you made some great commentary about him specifically in comparison to what other programs that promote business might have. Would you mind?
Well, Marcus Lemonis is a real entrepreneur. He's not a venture capitalist per se in the traditional sense of the word, where people think that they're going out and they just need to raise money. Well, money won't solve your problem. It's the people, the processes, the products. It's understanding that business is a religion. It's operating that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and knowing exactly what you need to do in any business. That's why Marcus Lemonis is successful in all these different businesses. He understands people, he understands process, he understands product, but more importantly, he understands the other two things, which he knows what the cost of a client is, how to acquire a client, and how much it's going to cost. He understands the lifetime value of a client, and he knows what the lifetime relationship is. So with those two metrics, adding the size and value of the market, he has a clear picture of what he needs to do to be successful. If you apply those same principles in every business across this country, you'll find the same solution. And that process is called situational framing. Situational framing determines predictable outcomes. It's the way that successful entrepreneurs do this over and over and over. If you're a serial entrepreneur, such as myself, I don't get to pick and choose. Typically, I'll get a phone call from a bank, a lender, a venture capitalist who has money in the game. They have their risk is over what their comfort zone is. They want to bring somebody in like myself to solve that problem and relieve that pain. That's essentially what it is. And because there's a lot of people with a lot of money in the market, then there's a tremendous opportunity for someone like me to come in and affect change. And that's why we practice business as a religion.
Right. But I'll throw it open to everyone, and that is, when you mentioned before that money isn't the issue.
It's not.
For many people listening right now, perhaps money's their issue. They've got deadlines, they've got
Sure.
payroll, they've got taxes, they've got fees, they have registration, they have whatever it might be. Their profitability and margin might be so minimal that they're sweating it out, that I'm not going to be able to stay in business. I don't have enough revenue in my
Well, you can't save yourself into a profit. And people think that if I cut my overhead and I keep cutting, that I'll be able to be profitable. And it's the opposite. This growth in sales solves those problems. So when I go into a company, typically I look at, they're called KPIs, key performance indicators. Those are about 12 to 15 different things I look at. When I identify those 12 to 15 things, I'll know what's out of balance. And 90% of the time, they can benefit from more sales, more customers. Then when they can convert, if they can convert at a higher rate, then we can focus on the metrics that they're using for conversion. Right. And then we look for profitability. But without the customer, you don't have to focus on the conversion. You don't have to focus on the profitability. And so when you go down this process, it seems very systematic towards success, because it is. We develop recipes for success. That is our job. When we come into a company, whether it's our company or we're consulting for a company, they all have a host of issues. They all think they know what it is. But more times than not, it's not money. Money seems to be the problem, but money is essentially the grease that runs the machine, right? So if the size and value of the market's right, if you have the right product, you have the right service, then we determine what exactly the market determines what you're going to pay for it, right? I don't determine what something costs, the market determines. So I work for the market. The market will decide what they can afford to pay for my product or service. Then I got to go back and make that profitable. And sometimes you got to learn to say no. The power of no will save you more than you know. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you got to learn to say no. Sometimes you got to learn to walk away and focus on something that is the best use of your time, talent, resources, not something that your uncle did, your auntie did, or someone. And so I've seen that a lot of times too. This is what we've always done. This is what we're always going to do.
Right.
Grandma had the restaurant. My mom had the restaurant. I have the restaurant. It's the same menu, the same customers. And I say, and you get the same outcome. Yeah. It's a contracting marketplace.
Remarkable. I'm going to throw it open because I know we have just a few minutes before the bottom of the hour break. But the application, and something you also had mentioned, this is movable. Mm-hmm. It's transportable. And we have about as many diverse businesses just in this room that is proven what you said, because every one of them are elevated and are on a positive track.
Sure.
So whoever would want to jump on in, share a little bit about that application. You might be involved in multiple disciplines, multiple businesses. How does that fundamentally work? How does that practically work when the day starts and then when the day ends?
One thing I wanted to touch on was we were talking about infusing money
Yeah.
in business. It's something that I hear and see all the time. It's like only if I had more money, only if I had more this, or like at the end of the day, if your systems and processes aren't in alignment, guess what? All you're going to do with more money is create more problems. So realistically, that's something Jim, works with us a lot. Is every time we go through a growth period, we stabilize to make sure during that growth we aren't hitting a point where we're just going to impound the problems that we just created on this growth process. So we're always looking for systems and processes to be able to lead us down the path. Without those, you have nothing in business, nothing whatsoever. So that's a huge thing we're focusing on daily.
Another thing that people don't like to hear is that sometimes it's just their business concept is just poor. Like somehow you got all the money, you're able to start a business, but there's just no demand for it. And that's, money can't save you with that either.
Yeah.
I'd also like to jump in that it's also about switching your mindset. So, what value can you create for people to come to you? It's not really about what can I build, what can I show. It's what value am I giving and what is the size of that market? And then you change from there.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned before, just a sidebar, venture capitalism cannot save you because it's money infusion and nothing beyond.
Yep.
But before a venture capitalist makes that investment, isn't there a vetting and isn't there a process internally?
Sure. Well, the problem is there's the way that they effectively raise capital is there's seed rounds. So the seed round is the idea round. So you get friends and family to throw in money, and then the individual with the idea takes that little bit of capital and goes out and try to hire a management team to draft a business plan. Where we're completely opposite. We're a lean startup principle. We build prototypes. We don't write business plans. Now, that doesn't say we don't have a business plan for every business. We do. But we don't live by that business plan. That business plan is a working, living document. Where we focus is on prototyping. We build a prototype. We expand it, contract it. We replicate it. We duplicate it. We work backwards. We reverse engineer it. And we know that that model can be scaled, can be expanded, can be contracted, and we can export that anywhere in the world. That model becomes the real value. The prototype becomes the value, not the plan. Plans are built on people. Prototypes are built on processes. If I build a plan on people, then I have to find extraordinary people to run my plan. If I can run my plan with an ordinary human, then I'm going to win. The reason why McDonald's is successful is not because they produce great hamburgers. It's because they have systems and processes where an ordinary person can get an extraordinary outcome. They can replicate and duplicate that model anywhere in the world. So with that concept in mind, that's how I build businesses, to replicate around the world, to scale, to expand when the market expands, to contract when the market contracts, to replicate and duplicate, don't reinvent the wheel. So our R&D stands for replicate and duplicate, not research and development. We're not trying to be the next great hamburger stand. We're trying to figure out what works, give the customer an opportunity to try our product. In the event that they're in alignment, we produce a high value product, they're going to do business with us. So it's more of a system process based, less of a people based. To find extraordinary people all over the world, very difficult. To have ordinary people run an extraordinary process and system all over the world isn't very difficult to do. So that's where we focus.
Seems we have to take our bottom of the hour break, but it seems that when you use the McDonald's icon, it makes a lot of sense. We can all relate to it. But when we talk about McDonald's, that is a precise consumable product, whereas Katie is in more of a service. And how do you make that a replica of the ideal when it's not a consumable product, but it's more of a service?
We want to talk about that after the break?
I'm afraid we're going to have to.
Okay.
Because I'm going to want the answer, brother.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, thanks for being with us. You are dialed in. It is Maker of Kings, exclusively here on 830 KHVH. We'll be back with our team in studio. Your telephone calls at 521-8383. Your comments on Facebook Live. If you'd like to join us, we'll monitor all that and be back with more Maker of Kings. Stand by. More to come.
The Rick Hamada Program on News Radio 830 KHVH.
Maker of Kings is found right here every Wednesday at this time, and we're delighted that you're a part of the program. And please stay with us all the way through until the top of the hour. We have, of course, Jim and Drew and Rich, and Katie is in studio with us today. We wish our brother Corey Cazares all the best. As a matter of fact, Amanda is on Facebook Live with us right now, so we'll give a little love to Amanda, who's with us.
Aloha.
We've been talking. What a great conversation! It's compelling. We have all this whole list, and I'm just drawn to the pragmatism of business. And we spoke a little bit before the break about how do you apply the methodology to a place like a McDonald's, which has a consumable product, when you have a business which is more service oriented. And what is the differentiation, if any?
Well, it's targeting properly, right? Choosing the proper client, targeting the right demographic, and we talk about that in the marketing portion, where marketing is effectively targeting. If you're targeting the proper client, then you know exactly what your perfect client is for you, and then you find out where that person congregates, what they go do, what they eat, where they shop, so on and so forth. And you find that, then you parallel your product or service to that individual. You use your value proposition status to say, here's what's currently in the market. This is why I'm different. This is why I'm better. This is how I can contribute to your life, to the bottom line. Then you put your message out there, and that's your obligation. And then the customers will decide whether they appeal to you, you appeal to them, and then that's where the connection happens.
Gotcha. Anybody else? Jump on in, Drew.
It's funny when you think about when we started, how we went straight into the handyman space. We listened to the market. And then they kind of decided what spaces we had to go into.
Sure,
Whether it's house cleaning, is that for us? Nope. People could do it cheaper, more effective. Cool. Get rid of it.
Yep.
We weren't in love with anything. When we were very receptive to what the market had to.
It's an open-minded approach. Yeah, the market decides what we do. We don't decide that. We have an idea of what we want to accomplish,
right?
But the market will actually tell you what they're receptive for and what the market. I mean, when we got into the handyman space, there was 528 people that were in that space, so it was considered a saturated market. And we rose to the top and became number one within the first year. So one of two things are true, right? Either everybody's horrible or we're that good. And I guess the market decided who is the best.
And that's the thing, is how do you listen to the market?
Social listening. We actually
actually have the
we actually have tools
Yeah.
that determine what's the chatter and what people are discussing and what are the commonalities. So in this market, we chose the service space because it's something that every household needs. So the idea that we talk about that people may feel is arrogant of $1 billion strategy. $1 billion strategy requires that every household needs your service, right? So if they don't need your service, then you probably aren't going to reach $1 billion strategy. There's 400 million Americans. So if you do the math, it's very difficult to reach that $1 billion status if everybody doesn't need your product. So if we identified something that every household needed our service. Now it was our job to display what we do, how it could benefit them, and how we can save them time or money. So when we can save our clients time or money by using our service, then we become an option. Once we become an option, we look to position ourselves as the best first option, right? So the first option is you can go do it yourself. But in the contracting space of do it yourself, which the Home Depots and Lowe's have identified, it's a contracting marketplace, then they're going to have somebody do it. So you have two different demographics. You have the older generation, the baby boomer, who has the skills, probably has the tools, but not interested in spending their time doing a honey-do list. They're interested in their time golfing, fishing, yoga, any of the other things they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
The millennials, which is now our largest buying block, right, is skill deficient, tool deficient. So in order for them to go out and hang that TV, to hide the cable, to put up that ceiling fan, they're going to have to go buy $200 to $300 worth of tools. They're going to have to watch videos, read books, so on and so forth, and figure out how to do it. And if they look at that, they're going to spend $500 or they could pay us $300 to do the job. So it's market positioning. Our brand is positioned properly. We identified size and value of the market being quite substantial. We developed two processes to penetrate the market. We access them effectively. We then target effectively, and then we maintain those relationships effectively. So
sheesh,
it's systems.
So one thing that he said about the millennials, it was within 6 months, there was a study that showed that the millennials outspent the baby boomers.
Yes, first time
So
ever.
that's the buying market, right? So you have to, not only do you have to compete on price, it's all about value. So you could be the cheapest in the market, but they're like, what do you stand for? They actually ask that question, you know, so you have to be able to,
It's your mission.
your story and your mission have to convey like, who you stand for. And if you don't have it, they're like, next, go to the next one, even if you're cheaper.
What I just heard, basically, and I'll talk to you guys, you can spend 4 years at Scheidler.
Business School.
You can spend 4 years at Loyola.
Penn State.
I didn't want to bring in Penn State because I have some good friends that go there.
The loyalties.
But what you've just explained in this relatively short amount of time, to me, is a blueprint that needs to be understood and applied by all who have a vested interest in business.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. My dad had a nice little conversation on the phone, and it's how do you teach people to understand people? You got to understand people and know how to listen.
And I use that as an example. I asked somebody,
Yeah.
we're on a conference call, we're hiring an individual he graduated Stanford with an MBA.
My favorite school.
And I said, could you please tell me about your experience? And he says, well, I went to Stanford. It's a great business school. I graduated class of 2001. And I said, well, you didn't answer my question. Obviously, you flunked active listening because I asked you the question, which is tell me about your experience. He goes, well, are you familiar with Stanford? I said, yeah, I've heard of it, right? I said a few other things after that.
Right.
I said, well, we're done. Please excuse yourself, right? I'm done. Because if you cannot answer a simple question, tell me about your experience, and you just want to tell me about your education, I'm not interested in your education.
Right.
I'm interested in your experience. I want to know what separates you from everybody else who graduated class of 2001 with an MBA, right?
Right.
So there's
Right.
1,500 other kids that did exactly what you did, learned the same thing that you did. What's the difference between you and them? And if you can't explain to me the difference, then you're wasting my time, and I don't have time for that. So
Yeah.
Drew and I are actually getting masters too.
School of Keener. Yeah, exactly.
Degree in winning, so we're hopefully in the next 4 years we'll put that underway.
yeah,
I
he
believe
did.
it's the Keener School of Life.
Yeah, he did ask me what my degree was in, and I said winning.
Yeah, he did.
He actually did.
So within the first 30 seconds of that, he knew exactly what he needed to know about this guy. That you're not the real deal. Because
Right.
if you come thinking that your resume is going to help you, it's not. It's about what can you produce through action. Nobody cares about a plaque on a wall. That doesn't mean anything.
Dead, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything at
Yeah.
all. Like,
So,
Drew, you could have my diploma if you wanted it. But it was like one of those things that you look at it at the end of the day. What value does it bring? Because there's so many people. I mean, Drew and I interview people all the time, and you sit down and it's like Jim's philosophy is the guy's gonna be the best he's ever gonna be sitting there at the table. So if he's not extraordinary,
well put.
You're
it's
wasting
just
your
like
time.
dating.
Well put.
For best, it goes
Yeah,
downhill
you're
from
meeting
there.
their representative. Yeah. You're meeting their representative.
Mm-hmm.
we go through it and we see resumes and we do this. And now we look at it and we're gonna figure it out. Day 4.
Yeah.
If they really have this capacity, they say they do. 9 times out of 10 they don't, and the reason for it is the practical application. Yeah, they might have read a book, but how do they know how to implement it?
Right.
How do they know how to put it in the workspace?
So what I hate about the software that they have for big companies, they have software that picks resumes for you to choose out of thousands of resumes. Well, you have to sit down and do the face-to-face because there's a lot that the paper won't tell you.
Exactly.
Doesn't tell me anything.
It doesn't tell you anything.
I was going to say,
That just
anything at
says
all, right?
basically, theoretically, I did this and that.
Yeah.
But I can talk to you for.
Well,
5
you're
minutes.
highly knowledgeable, but you have no education.
Right.
So great on the knowledge, right? You got all this knowledge that you've created through this education component, but at the end of the day, it's not actionable intel. You can't do anything with it. I call it the library of useless knowledge.
Yeah. So one of my
Very
one of my
useless knowledge. Volumes.
They know everything about nothing.
So one of my professors I had last summer, he has a company called Jobsology, and what it is trying to do that for companies, trying to help develop the workforce through all these algorithms and stuff. But there's still that component that's missing, the human element. A computer could get you close, but it's not going to do the same
Right.
as if a face-to-face will.
But I actually had been hired years ago when I was in the cruise business, when I first came out to Hawaii. I was hired on the phone.
Yeah.
I submitted nothing. There was no resume. There was no application. It was a conversation of about 12 minutes. And she hired me right then because that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Her questions are very pointed, specific about what I've done, how I do it, and what da-da-da. She didn't call any other bosses. She didn't call any personal references, didn't look and hired me. We had a great time. I was blessed to come to Hawaii to work at American Hawaii Cruises. But Susie, I'll never forget her. And I actually asked her when I got here, why did you hire me? We didn't even meet.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, I knew enough when I talked to you.
That's right. You said all the things I was looking for.
That was it.
Yep.
So
Same thing.
around the table before we go, advice to those who are entrepreneurs, small business people, people in a position where they need to bring team members on. If there's something you want to share for them before we take our break, what would that be? Who would like to jump in first?
I could do my philosophy
Yeah.
is find the guy or gal who's performing in the marketplace. They're probably working for somebody else. Give them a signing bonus and put them to work. I believe that we're targeting the best people in the marketplace, and those people are traditionally working. So if you're the best in the business, we're probably targeting you, and that's what we do. I mean, enough of putting this out and getting everybody who's unemployed to give you a resume. Go find the guy that could change your business today and make them an offer they can't refuse.
Beautiful. What a way to do that. I want folks to be able to connect with Maker of Kings. Drew, I always turn to you for the information of how we can do that.
Yeah, you can call us at 808-202-2922 or find us at makerofkings.com. And on Maker of Kings, you can also find all of our past episodes.
Yes, you can. By the way, it's good to revisit some of those. We're going to be back in a moment, wrap things up, and we're going to do it with Maker of Kings in studio on this Aloha Wednesday. Stand by. Maker of Kings is found right here on 830 KHVH here in Honolulu and soon to be beyond. And we're delighted that you're with us today with Jim, Drew, Katie, and also Rich, plus our aloha to brother Corey Cazares. And we're in the final stretch. And it's a bittersweet moment because, well, it's toward the end of our hour, and it's toward the end of our hour. That's how it becomes that way. I want to reference just very quickly your Constitution, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
First of all, the content is phenomenal for life and business. The question is, can the general public, those listening, can they find your Constitution?
Yeah, you can find it on makerkings.com. I think they did post it. But I would encourage anybody to draft the Constitution. And the Constitution is exactly how I run my life, right? And it talks about the something for nothing mentality, the people that are trying to get something. And I document that very well about not accepting something for nothing. That's why I don't accept gifts, presents, those types of things. You know, a lot of people want to take me to lunch, but they don't realize that an hour of my time at lunch is really not productive. Two reasons. One, we're eating. Two, we're drinking, and we're not really drilling down and accomplishing anything. So if it's your personal friend and we go out, that's one thing. But if it's a business deal and you're looking for advice, the last thing you want to do is pay me to come have lunch with you. And so it's best that we keep our meetings productive. We draft agendas. We focus on productive time so that you get the most value out of our time spent together.
Right.
The Constitution does break out everything exactly the way I feel, from how I treat people, how I expect people to treat me. We talk about the something for nothing mentality. We talk about pretty much everything that I value in my life. I documented that. I give it to everybody I do business with. My boys have seen that their whole life. And Rich has drafted a Constitution. I've seen some of these constitutions come through, and it really separates our men from the competition because we have our mission statement is a whole lot deeper than what somebody else's mission statement. Our values, our principles,
True.
How we treat people.
Right.
You'll never find us down talking to anybody in the marketplace. We separate ourselves strictly from our performance. We're not in the business of burning anything down. We're in the business of building things up. So it's a positive approach towards life, and I think it's a win-win for everybody involved.
I'm going to share just one because I shared it with my kids
Sure.
at home. And the one that stands out for me, I am not a victim. I refuse to complain, condemn, or criticize. If I am not happy with the situation, then I take action to change it.
Yeah.
And that is life. That is a life mission statement.
And that's
Right
me
there.
right there.
Yeah.
I'm not a victim, right?
Right.
So I've been in situations where things have happened and people say, well, how did you recover from that? It's because I'm not a victim. Everything that has happened to me has made me who I am, and I'm stronger because of it. And so bring it on, right?
Yeah.
I don't get ready, I stay ready. We talk about that.
Love that. Love it. Love it. Let me go around. Again, your thoughts, comments about not only Jim's Constitution, Rich, the importance of this in having it literally in writing so we have it as reference.
Well, it holds you accountable. So if I ever break my Constitution, Jim, Andrew, Katie can come to me and say, hey, Rich, remember you told me who you are, who you stand for. You're not following that. And that's the whole purpose of it. You've actually had a self-reflection of what you want, where you want to go. And once you start thinking in those thoughts, I think your perspective changes. Because what are you really in? Are you working, or is this a career path, or is this your religion and what you want to be a part of?
Mhm.
The cause. One thing too that I thoroughly appreciate about the Constitution you brought up about Jim is you can look at every situation with a negative light or a positive light, no matter what it is. We just recently had some business things go on where we look at it as, okay, a different company was coming after, trying to get ahead of us in the market space. But we looked at that as, okay, we can take it as a negative approach, as like, oh, these guys are trying to be mean to us or this or that. Or we took it as like, hey, they're making us better. Oh, they found a little kink in our armor. Oh, okay, we gotta sew that one up.
Yeah,
Back on the playing field.
I love that.
not just that. That means we're on their radar too, and I love that. That means like, yes, that's another building block. We got it.
Yeah.
We love it. Okay, take it.
If we're getting attention, we're doing our job,
Absolutely.
right? So
Right.
if we have people taking shots at us, that's exactly what we want, right? And so the more people that are interested in what we're doing, the more people that are trying to tear us down, they just make us stronger. So like I've said before, do your best. Their job is to tear us down. Our job's not to get tore down, and may the best team win.
Right.
And we like winning.
We do.
And we like winning.
Absolutely. I mean,
Katie?
When I first met Jim, actually, he said the first thing I need you to do is write down who you are, what you're doing, your constitution. What are you trying to provide? What do you stand for? And it's really just like Rich said, keeping yourself accountable. It's not about what we're doing only. It's also about what's going on in our heads. So if we have this constitution, it's a clear set of how we think every day, how you wake up in the morning. Do you wake up ready to go and happy and grateful? Or do you wake up with, oh man, my neck hurts, I didn't sleep well, like whatever you had going on, what route do you take? Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? And the Constitution, it's a framework. Stay positive, stay your course.
I love this. Absolutely love this. Before we go, I have to ask though, why did you call it my Constitution? It could have been called my plan, my guideline, my whatever, but you chose Constitution. Why?
I believe because the founding fathers, when they drafted our Constitution, it built the framework for this great country, and I wanted to build the framework for my great life.
My goodness. Can we go another 5 hours? I mean, really. I mean, we got until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Drew, hit us back, please. Contact Maker of Kings. How do we do it?
808-202-2922 or makerofkings.com.
Can't thank you all enough for today
My pleasure.
and every day.
Thank you.
Want to thank Drew, Jim, Katie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Brother Rich, mahalo nui.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubbies, baby. Turn that baby around. Matt, shout out to Corey. And for all of our friends on Facebook Live, thanks for being with us. Maker of Kings next week, Wednesday. Don't miss it. We'll see you next time. Aloha.
KHVH Honolulu.